Hi, this is the Konova K2 100 cm slider. It's made by Konova, it's a Korean company, and I've used the slider for the past 1 year in most of my productions. And I thought I'd do a 1 year user review of the slider. I wanted to discuss what I liked, what I did not like, the pain points that I had, so that you can make an informed decision before purchasing this slider. As you know, there are two types of sliders. One is a friction slider and one is a ball bearing slider. And the Konova K2 is a ball bearing slider. And what I mean by that is the part which runs on the slider itself are three ball bearings, as you can see here. These three ball bearings, they run on two rails which are inside the slider assembly. The rails themselves are extremely protected by the outer casing of the slider, so it's quite difficult to actually break them. Otherwise, the rails themselves are pretty good quality. The external casing is of excellent quality, and the camera mounting position slides across the rails extremely smoothly. Now, normally the friction sliders are much cheaper compared to the ball bearing sliders. The ball bearing sliders are usually in the 500 US dollar range, but the Konova K2, it comes under the 250 dollar range. So you get it at the price point of a friction slider, but still you get a ball bearing slider, which I think is extremely good value for money. The Konova K2 has multiple mounting points. You have two mounting points over here on the left hand side, two on the other side, and you have one mounting position right in the middle. I normally make use of the middle mounting point simply because I'm able to travel with just one heavy duty tripod instead of two separate tripods or two light stands to mount them on either side. But that has its negatives, which I'll come to in a minute. The way I mount this is I take your video mount plate and screw it into the Konova slider, and you slide it into the video head. Once you do that, you merely tighten the video head and the slider is going to stay put. Let me just tighten this too. Yeah, you're going to have a pretty stable platform. The slider comes with two of these, I don't know what you call them, but what they essentially do is, if you put a couple of drops of oil onto the base of this thingy, and you can essentially just slide them into the slider and move them across the entire width of the slider so that the rails are completely lubricated prior to usage. It is recommended, not only for this slider but for any slider that you might use, to have it completely clean and completely lubricated prior to every single usage. So assuming you've done that and you have lubricated them, let me move on to what I think is one of the minor irritations of the Konova K2 slider. So as you can see, I've actually already dismantled the head mechanism, and the reason for that is your head is normally going to be like this. You're going to have 4 screws here which hold the camera mounting plate onto the actual base plate. Now, initially when the slider was provided to me, there used to be absolutely no play in this camera mounting base. So, but however, right now, if you can see, I'm able to slightly move it like this. Now, what happens is when a heavy camera is placed here with a reasonably long lens, like even a 50 millimeter lens, this shake is going to be extremely apparent in the image that it is producing. And this over time has become one of my biggest pain points with the Konova slider. The fix for this is pretty simple. The fix for this is you need to slide out this head mechanism all the way from the slider. The reason why this is happening is because this center wheel is not, there's a little bit of a play that can occur in the center wheel. It can move up and down. The solution for that is to flip this mount upside down. Here in the middle you can see a screw, or rather a nut, and the slider comes with its own spanner. So all you need to do is to tighten this nut as much as you can so that the play is reduced. After tightening it, you merely slide it in again, and the hope is that the play is much less. Now, there still is a little bit of play remaining, and I've tried a lot to tighten this, but this minimum play is still remaining. But what would happen is, after a few usages, the play is going to increase. You are going to face an increased shake like this when you mount the camera on it, and it is going to affect your picture. So if you're using the Konova K2 slider, what I would recommend is, prior to every single major usage, dismantle it, ensure that the middle wheel is extremely tight, and then put everything back together so that you don't really have a problem during the shoot. I've actually had problems with this twice or thrice in the middle of a shoot, and I've had to not use a slider, and it has decreased the production value of my video. But after that, I started to follow this mechanism of ensuring it is tight prior to every single usage, and it has not really been a problem after that. There is a minor shake, but that is not something that the warp stabilizer in Premiere Pro cannot handle. Now, that said, another problem area for me is when you move your heavy camera towards one end of the slider like this, there is a possibility that the weight of the camera causes this to dip a little. So when you're using the entire width of the slider, it is possible that towards the end of the slide, the entire frame dips a little. That is also something that can be handled by Adobe's warp stabilizer. And that is not really an issue only with the Konova K2. That is an issue that you would see with pretty much any slider. An easy solution for that is to take two camera stands or two light stands, mount the Konova slider on them towards the corner and not on a single mount in the middle. That should completely eliminate that problem. However, you would need to carry two strands just for that purpose, instead of just one tripod in the middle. Other than that, the Konova K2 is extremely good value for money. For $250, this is probably the best product that you can get in the market. The 100 centimeter length of this slider is actually at the sweet point. You really do not want something that's smaller, nor do you want something that's bigger. This would satisfy all your needs. Would I go ahead and purchase the Konova K2 once again after using it for a year? The answer is depending on how much money you have. If you are looking at a slider at the $250 range, I don't think you're going to get anything better than the Konova K2. However, if you're able to push your budget towards the $400 or the $500 range, I would recommend that you take a look at the Kessler sliders or the Cineweight sliders. They are much better in construction. Most of the issues that I talked about probably wouldn't happen with those sliders. But again, if your budget is $250, then this is a no-brainer. Please go ahead and buy this.